All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the April 2015 CDA Vendor Webinar. My name is Amy Webb, and I'm going to be presenting the slides today with my colleague, Mindy Durrance. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Mindy, take it away.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. We want to mention the APEC 2015 conference that's coming soon. It'll be June the 26th through the 29th at Nashville, Tennessee, and it'll be held in the Music City Center. We're going to have pre-conference meetings. The NHSN CDA vendor meeting will be Friday from June the 26th from 1 to 2 p.m. and that will be at the Music City Center, room 207. And then following will be the NHSN members meeting, which will be from 2:30 to 4. We hope you can join us, and we'll give you some good information. Then during the conference, as we usually do, we'll be holding the one-on-one vendor meetings. They'll be Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is already booked. Sunday morning, there's a late morning open time and a few early Sunday afternoon time. So if you're still would like to meet with us, just send an email to the NHSN CDA mailbox and we'll get you scheduled. Some general updates. Just a reminder for the January 2015 release 8.3. the SSI, procedure, dialysis, and UTI CDAs transition to the R2D1.1 CDA version. We're still getting a few emails or issues reported to us where the customers have not been updated, but we do see that getting smaller and smaller. So hopefully everybody's aware of these changes and getting their customers up to date. We wanted to update you on the question we'd had from a few vendors regarding the discharge date. There is no validation of the discharge date. It is an optional field. There's no plans in the near future to make it be validated. So I know some of you have mentioned there was a 1900 date in there, and so we have fixed it, but there is no validation. The development team is coding using Struts 2. You'll notice that there'll be a slightly different user interface view. And those of you who are already using the pre-production test instance, you may see two links, an old and a new. While we're still in development phase, try the new one first. If that does not work, then just start using the old one. And hopefully by the end of our development cycle, you'll all be using only the new. So a general update about direct CDA automation. We do have 2 vendors and approximately 55 facilities sending via direct. One of the major vendor companies implemented direct and reported to us that their clients are loving it. We do see more vendors are beginning to test. Some of the lessons learned so far is very important. Make sure the facility administrator is active, and that includes even in your test facility and production. Also, make sure the facility OID is entered in the user interface prior to enrolling in direct CDA automation. Just as a process to begin with, use your test facility to enroll in direct CDA automation using your unique direct address. Perform the required steps, example, ready for ping tests, and then the ping and pong and so on, until the status is active. Then after that, when you enroll other facilities using the same direct address, a validation occurs to verify the address, and the status will change to active after the screen is refreshed. So my point of all that is you will not have to go through the ping and the pong and all the that you did with your initial facility for the following facilities using that same direct address. This is I always have this in my slide. We still see these issues. So it's user rights issues to import CDAs. So the administrator rights allows users to import all CDA types. When you set up your new customers, make sure you set them up with the correct user rights, not AU if they're doing other HIA CDA imports. Please share this with your help desk staff and just make sure that your new customers are set up correctly. We can tell, or one of the ways we can tell, is when they try to import an HAI event, say when the user only has been set up with antimicrobial use rights, the import actually just freezes. It just stalls because I guess it goes through the validation and the schema validation, everything's fine, but then it sees that the user does not have the correct rights, so the screen freezes. Update on the pre-production vendor test site. It was a success. I think we had really good feedback from most vendors. So for our new customers, just an overall summary, it is a copy of the NHSN development environment. This release, we're going in 3-week sprints, and they may be closer toward deployment, which will be in July. There's no SAMS credentials required. And to enroll, send an email to the NHSN CDA mailbox telling us that you want to become an active user for the pre-production test site. We'll send you some forms, you complete them, and we'll get you all set up. We're expected to have some of the new CDAs, the R2D2.1 CDAs, ready to test by the end of May. I will send an email regarding which CRs and CDA types that are ready to be tested. And also, as a reminder, when you log in, read the important message for valid CDA imports. In the future, we do have plans to move this pre-production site to a more stable and robust environment. I know sometimes it crashed, but it will definitely be moved to a more stable and robust environment. So next we'll talk about NHSN Release 8.4. It's scheduled for late July this summer, 2015. High-level list of changes. We'll have updates for the following summary report CDAs, ICU Other, NICU, SCA, and the MDRO, also called the POM. We'll also have SSI update associated with CR 1119. That was from the January release. Addition of 3 drugs for antimicrobial use, and enhanced analysis functionality for AU. So all the 4 CDAs will be based on the newer IG, the R2D2.1 IG. This was sent out about a few weeks ago. So make sure you are using the correct IG to create these 4 summary report CDAs. We refer to it all, it's often called different things, but R2N, or D2.1, or the R2D2.1 is which we refer to it most commonly. Make sure when you use the Lantana validator that you select the correct IG release number for which the CDA is based on. So for all these new CDAs, you will click on the R2D2.1 as highlighted in yellow below when you validate your CDAs that you're creating. So as usual, in the R2D2.1 IG updates, there's a lot of template ID changes. Just make sure you go through your implementation guide and your samples thoroughly to make sure you notice all the changes. This is a screenshot or snippet of one of the samples where I have gone in, and you can look for a name MD, and noting the changes from the previous version to this newer version. In the IG, there was some confusion about succession management it omitted the parent document, and that was not intended. It was succession management has not changed, so continue doing it like you've always done it. So for Release 8.4 this summer, so CDAs updated for the following summary reports. CDAs is ICU Other, NICU, SCA, and the MDRO POM. They're all based on the R2D2.1 implementation guide. NHSN will accept present versions, the R5 or R7, CDAs with summary year less than or equal to 2015, and will accept the R2D2.1 CDAs with a summary year equal to or greater than 2015. So note, both versions will be accepted for 2015. When we can, we try to give you guys that, a good amount of time to create your new CDA and to roll on with a newer version. In this instance, the user interfaces already had all the fields. There's no new fields. The CDA is just basically catching up with the user interface. So for CR 984 and 985, and these numbers relate to your CDA impact note. You can do a one-to-one comparison of these slides to the notes if you need more information. So for ICU Other and the SCA summary reports, additions have been included to match the user interface, and it includes the number of patients on APRV or airway pressure release ventilation, and there's the new code, and also an addition of number of new episodes of mechanical ventilation. For CR 986, it is for the NICU summary report. Once again, we're updating the codes to match the user interface. We're going to deprecate the number of central line days and number of umbilical catheter days, and we're actually just combining them, so changing it to the number of central line days, including umbilical catheter, and there's the code 1854-9. I did want to have this screenshot to point out in the IG the number of umbilical catheter days was left in the table. It's a little confusing, but that should be omitted. It is not in the CDA anymore. And there's also two corrections for the R2D2.1 NICU XML sample. The IG is actually correct. It's the sample. You want to make sure you don't exactly go by that. And we have sent out an XML, a corrected XML sample for the NICU. So make sure you use that sample to replace the one that was in the implementation guide. But it's regarding the summary encounter and the NICU summary report should be .191 and not .184. And also, correction for the POP-SUM denominator NICU, the play-in entity is removed from the birth weight strata. So that also has been corrected in your sample CDA. So make sure you're aware of those. So next on to CR 1197, it is the multiple drug resistant organism, or the POM, as we call it for the CDA. Addition of optional fields to match the user interface. And there are the new codes for total facility patient days, admissions, and encounters. And then also the new codes for the if monitoring MDRO fact-wide for patient days, admissions, and encounters. So those will be the codes that are in your new CDA. No changes in other codes that are used in the POM CDA. Also, an addition of it is conditionally required, and it is the C. difficile test method. The question is, For this quarter, what is the primary testing method for C. difficile used most often by your facility's laboratory or the outside laboratory where your facility's testing is performed? It is required only if the location equals fact-wide N, and if the C. diff is being followed, and the month is March, June, September, or December. Refer to the value set, name NHSN C. diff test method for your vocabulary list. Here's just a screenshot of the form in the UI, and it shows that, just showing y'all the total facility patient days information, and then next is if monitoring MDRO in a fact-wide location, and of course has patient days, admissions, and then the counters is when it's an outpatient. And then if monitoring C. diff for fact-wide location, and then at the bottom has for this quarter, what is the primary testing method? This is just a screenshot of the user interface to show you the new look, new questions. CR 1261 is an update for CR 1119. That was Chapter 17. A lot of changes happened in January 8.3 release, and this is one that they just wanted to beef up a little. So for SSIs for organ space-specific events, pathogen identified and secondary bloodstream infection may only be equal to yes when at least one of the following specific criteria equals yes. And they're really just sort of logical as positive culture, positive blood culture, and other positive lab. So make sure you're aware of that rule. Here's a recap for CDA version imports. So the ICU, SCA, NICU will be a valid import after the July release. You can, at that time, you can still report either the R5 or the R2D2.1, the newer version. And then also for the POM, you can import the R7 or the R2D2.1 POM for 2015. So next, I'm going to hand it back over to Amy for the animal use and resistant module.
Thanks, Mindy. All right, so some of you may be aware that the NHSN AUR module has been in the news. It has been officially proposed for Meaningful Use Stage 3. If you want the direct link to the Federal Register, you can see that on the slide here. We've also been mentioned in the National Strategy for Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria, or CARB, as well as the National Action Plan. So we are getting a lot of high-level attention, and we're getting a lot of facilities asking about vendors that are able to submit these data into NHSN. So just a few updates regarding NHSN AUR submission. With NHSN Release 8.4, we will be adding additional drugs for AU. So these new drugs are listed here on the slide. There's one antibacterial, one antifungal, and one anti-influenza agent. You can see the new codes here. These new drugs will be optional for all data 2015 and older, and they'll be required for all data January 2016 moving forward. However, you can continue to create your AU CDAs using the R6IG, and you'll use the same format used for each of these new drugs that you use for your present drugs. So you'll always include the number of days present, the aggregate antimicrobial days, as well as the substratification of the 4 different routes of administration. Just a few FYIs. So these next slides won't affect your CDA at all, but they're just good to know if your customers are asking or if you're doing any testing in NHSN and you come upon these changes. So this first one we're going to talk about is AUR module alerts. At this time, all the other HAI modules have alerts where if the location or procedure type is in the monthly reporting plan, the user will get an alert if no data have been entered. So we're just increasing the alerts to also add this functionality for AUR reporting. So it'll work just the same if the user puts AU or AR reporting in their monthly reporting plan. Once that month is complete and they don't have any AU or AR data submitted, an alert will show up on their alert screen. Another update we're making to the AUR module is a revision of the antimicrobial class and subclass information for select drugs per some CLSI updates. So on the slide you can see the green are an illustration of 2 of the drugs that will be changing class and subclass information. So this new information will be provided in an updated protocol, but again, this information does not have any effect on your CDAs at all. The class and subclass information is not included in your CDA files. And finally, we are updating some of the rate functionality within the NHSN AU option. So facilities will be able to generate a rate per specific individual drug, as well as a rate per group of drugs, regardless of the class or subclass. So right now in NHSN, you can only generate a rate of AU antimicrobial utilization per drug class. So it's a little bit limiting if you, let's say, only wanted to see your rate of vancomycin use, or if you wanted to see a group of specific drugs that weren't in the same class, such as select anti-MRSA agents. So those new reports will be included in 8.4. And then the last slide I have for AU today, as more and more facilities have been submitting AU data, and you as the vendors during your testing might also run across this, we've discovered that the limit for an NHSN analysis output report is either 5,000 rows or 5,000 bytes per report. So if you have a lot of data that you've imported into your test facility, or if your customer has more than 4 locations that they're submitting data for, you'll most often get this message on the left that says you have too much data, or if you get the message on the right that's just kind of a blank white screen, that's currently a defect and will be fixed, but it means the same thing. You just have too much data. So if you wanted to look at 1 year's worth of antimicrobial use data, you have to limit that output using the modification screen to 4 locations. You can see 8 locations at a time for 6 months of data and 19 locations at a time for 3 months of data. So you just have to do some modifications either within NHSN, or you can choose to export the data and look at it that way. So that's all I have for NHSN AUR module. So I'm going to hand it back over to Mindy for the 8.5 updates.
Thank you, Amy. So NHSN Release 8.5 is scheduled for January 2016, and that's the data that will be effective. A high-level list of changes will have updates for the following CDAs: Lab ID, CLIP, and the dialysis numerator. We'll also have the ICD-10 and CPT transition. Additional AU drugs that Amy just discussed will be required, and new outpatient operating room location and changes to ASC locations. Also have increased days present for emergency department in AU and total encounters for MDRO. So the update on Lab ID CDA includes it's based on the R2D2.1 IG. It's required for 2016 data, which is the specimen collection date. The user interface will be updated at the same time for the January 2016 data. It'll have the addition of the NHSN significant pathogen, the Cree Enterobacter, and there's also a series of additional questions The first question is last physical overnight location of patient immediately prior to arrival into facility. And then the two questions, has patient been discharged from your facility in the past 4 weeks? And also, has patient been discharged from another facility in the past 4 weeks? What's being removed from the CDA is, has patient been discharged from your facility in the past 3 months? And also the question, prior documentation of the patient being infected or colonized with the organism currently be reported. This field will be auto-populated, so there'll be a validation that occurs, and it'll go back and look it up in the database to see if this patient has had the organism reported before. So those two things have been removed from the CDA. We've added the addition of the optional fields for race and ethnicity. Also, a series of questions that's actually conditionally required is for the carbapenemase. It starts with, was the bacterial isolate tested for carbapenemase? If yes, which tests were done? Check all, apply, and there's a series of mini tests listed. Did the isolate test positive for carbapenemase? And then if yes, please identify which carbapenemase were identified. And once again, check all that apply. Next, we'll have an update on the CLIP CDA. It's also based on the R2D2.1 IG. It will be required for 2016 data, and it's based on the central line insertion date. The user interface will also be updated at the same time for the January data. Additional question that's conditionally required. If there was a contraindication to chlorhexidine, indicate the type of contraindication. And you will check all apply, or you'll put in all that apply. And also, we've added the additional the optional field that's actually been existing in the user interface for a while, but you'll have the option to add antimicrobial coated catheter use, yes or no. That will also be added to the CDA. So the update for the dialysis numerator is also be based on the same IG, the R2D2.1. Additional conditionally required questions. Where was the positive blood culture collected? It will be required if positive blood culture equals yes. The field actually already exists in the user interface, but for 2016, this field will be required for 2016 data, or conditionally required, we should say. So some more updates that are coming. We're changing from the ICD-9 to the ICD-10 and CPT codes. We will distribute the codes as soon as possible. I heard the rumor is early fall, so I know many of you are waiting on it, so we'll be sure to get that out to you as soon as it's released to us. The additional drugs for antimicrobial use that were added for 8.3 and 8.4 will be required to be included in the AU CDA for 2016. And there's a new outpatient operating room location and changes to ASC locations. They're still actually working on those now, and we'll send them out, and they'll be included in the IDM as soon as, like more toward the fall, probably when I get it out to you. Also, an increased maximum days present for ED and AU and total encounters for MDRO has been changed to 50,000. I think we had a few facilities close to or right over the limit. I think it was a much smaller number. So future CDAs, just to catch you up on what's planned or things that were planned and have been sort of pulled back. We had talked earlier, about a year ago, about the CDA implementation for outpatient procedures and ambulatory surgical centers. The CDA was actually created an implementation guide, but it has been put on hold. They decided that there's protocol changes coming. So once those changes get made, we will create another CDA and get those going, but that will be in the next few years from now before that's included in an implementation guide. What is coming is a biovigilance denominator. I'm collecting those requirements now. And the target date for CDA imports into NHSN is January 2016, and it is only the denominator. There's no immediate plans for VAE. We're still waiting on the protocol to stabilize before we put it into an implementation guide. So as always, we've sent out the 8.4 IDM. If there's any updates, we'll be sure to update you. And any other documents that come along that we think that you need. We always welcome feedback, whatever helps you or what you need. Just let us know. And just let us know if you ever want to have a one-on-one webinar, or and we'll get with your schedule and we'll schedule one up. We're here to help you. So I think that concludes our April webinar. We hope to see you at the APEC meeting and hope to see you at a one-on-one vendor meeting. And thanks for joining.